Guys, welcome to my channel. So I wanted to talk about a very serious issue within the Black community. Actually, it's all over, but I want to talk about specifically within the Black community because I'm Black, and I think it's a well-needed conversation. Someone actually reached out to me and asked me to talk about this, so I wanted to share my story on depression and PTSD. So first, I want to talk about PTSD. You know, before I did research and before I really experienced it, I thought it was just something that applied to military people. You know, when they go on to combat and they come back to their families and their heads all messed up, they don't think the same like how they did before they left. And some men become violent, some people really become depressed and they don't seek counseling. But I come to tell you that PTSD happens to everyone. And I want to break down what PTSD is. So P stands for post. So something that happened after, you know, the after effect. Post traumatic. Traumatic is something that was shocking or disturbing, emotionally, you know, traumatizing, something that just left you an emotional wreck. And S is for stress. You know what stress is. It's not good. It can be good, bad, but in PTSD, we're talking about the bad stress. And then D is for disorder, which is a state of confusion, disarray, and disorganized. So like, I know my mom used to say, your room is in disarray. It's in disorder. Like, you know, it means something like your mind mentally is all over the place. You're confused. You don't know what's going on. You don't know how to help yourself. So post-traumatic stress disorder. And my experience with PTSD was, it was something kind of minor, but to me it was serious. And it was a very serious breakup that I had in college. I was living with this guy, and I thought that we were going to get married. We were talking about you know, a future, kid names and everything like that. And I was in school, and one day he decided, hey, I got some friends that need a place to stay. They're gonna have to stay with me, so you're gonna have to go live with the grandma, because I was living with my grandma before. And I'm like, wait a minute now, hold up, I'm all settled in. Why can't they go stay with their peoples? And he was like, well, they don't have people down here. You do, so you need to stay with them. And so I was a little, okay, like, all right, whatever. So I stayed with my grandma, and then he started acting a little distant, and they were having little house parties and started leaving me out on things, which wasn't like him. So eventually he broke up with me, and it was a traumatic experience because I didn't know how to take it. I didn't expect it, you know, and it's crazy I didn't expect it because we weren't 100% a good couple. You know, we had our flaws. I had speculations of him cheating. I had to get into that another time, but you know, we weren't really perfect anyways. But for some reason, I was shocked. I was traumatized, and I had to go seek counseling. And luckily, the school USC offered counseling for students in case something happens. You know, they go through bereavement or they're stressed with finals. You know, life happens when you're in school. So I went to counseling, and I told her everything. I said, you know, I don't feel worthy anymore. I don't feel myself. Like, I don't feel beautiful anymore. He used to tell me I was beautiful, and now that we're not together, I don't think I'm beautiful anymore. Like, what am I doing wrong? I'm in school. I'm working at Victoria's Secret. I'm about to graduate. Like, what's going on? And she said, you know, have you ever thought about it's not you, it's him? Maybe you're not the problem. And I had to think about it. I'm like, wait a minute, she might be right. It can't be me because I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing. I'm not cheating. I'm being faithful. I'm working. At the end, and it took me a little while to realize that it wasn't me, the problem, it was him. The relationship was toxic. And that's why I'm like such a huge advocate for leaving toxic relationships, because it can spill over. Like, that energy can spill over to you and you become toxic. And the feelings that I had when I was dumped, it took over me, and I was depressed. But after that, I realized, no, it's not me, it's him. So I started to love myself. And however, I was dating. I actually downloaded a dating app a day or two after he broke up with me, so I could like find somebody to replace that empty void that I had, and that wasn't good. When you're going through a breakup, you need to have time for yourself to get over that person, because if you don't, then you're going to carry on that energy into your next relationship. I didn't know that. I actually missed out on a really good guy for that. But that was my first experience. But the second one was when I lost my granddad in college around the time that I graduated. And we knew he was sick, but I actually had got him these Superman slippers because he was my Superman. He was always strong. He always took care of me when I was younger. And I got him these Superman slides, and I wasn't in school. I was in school, so I couldn't really be with him like I wanted to because he was in Charleston. I was in Columbia. So I got him this Superman slide. I was so excited to see him. And by the time I got home to Charleston, to be with him, he passed away. And I didn't get to share those last moments with him. He didn't even get to see the slippers that I got him, but I did give them to him because he was still my Superman, alive or not. It's still my Superman. But that was traumatic because I never lost anybody really close to me. I lost my dad's dad when I was in middle school, but we weren't that close because I didn't live in Columbia with my dad's dad. I lived in Charleston, and my granddaddy and my mom's side practically raised me. So dealing with bereavement, losing someone, it takes a lot. It takes a lot. Some people, it takes them years to get over, and you have to just give them that time that they need. But I did have to understand that, life, we're all here for a purpose, to fulfill that purpose, and then we're eventually going to have to die. So I tried not to think about it so much. But then my last, well, I wouldn't say last because, the next traumatic experience that I had was the next month after my granddad passed. My sister was murdered. And you'd never know the feeling of getting that call that somebody was murdered, somebody close to you, somebody dear to you was murdered. Now somebody getting an accident, that's still traumatizing, but the fact that somebody had intentions to kill somebody that you love can take over you. And I remember, and I didn't even, before I got the news, we knew that she was missing, but I didn't think nothing of it because, my little sister Deandra was a little diva, and I figured maybe she didn't want to talk to anybody. Maybe that's why she wasn't texting anybody, but the fact that she didn't come home was a little different. And I remember I got the call. The feelings were all over the place. I was traumatized. I was disturbed. I was stressed. That's PTSD. I was stressed after that post, that post part of PTSD. I was stressed after this event, and I remember when I got to the house, my dad was in the yard throwing up, and I know this is a little TMI, but I had it the other way, and whenever you experience so much emotions, like something traumatizing and shocking, your body, not only your mind reacts, but your body reacts. It can't take it, and you just have to let everything go. You have to get it all out to really express yourself. Otherwise, you're just holding it in. It's not going to do anything for you. It's just going to make the situation even worse. Those feelings even worse. When you try to bottle it up, you have to let it go sometimes. And that it took a lot in me to move forward. And I moved forward by starting my nonprofit organization, because when that wasn't the first thing I did after she passed. I realized God talked to me and was like, Davida, you have a degree in criminal justice and you're working at Victoria's Secret. What are you doing? You're not doing it right. This is your purpose. Sometimes things happen in your life that that creates a purpose and a passion in you to go out and honor that one who passed away, or whatever it is. Something happened in your life and it affected you. Sometimes that instills your passion. My degree was in criminal justice, but at the time it wasn't my passion. obviously, because I was working at Victoria's Secret. But now, helping victims of domestic violence is my passion. And um, when I realized I wasn't doing the right thing working at Victoria's Secret, that's when I applied to work at the job at the Charleston County Sheriff's Office. And I was making differences in other people's lives, but it wasn't really my calling at the time. You know, it's a little stressful being a correction officer, well, detention officer. Correction officer, you know, same thing. It's just correction people work at prisons, and detention, they work at detention centers. But it was stressful getting cursed out by inmates, seeing stuff you're not supposed to see. It was a lot going on in that place. And I realized I needed to do something else. And you know what? One good thing about working at the jail was you do get to make a difference in other people's lives. And because they pay attention to you. They have you for 12 hours watching you. And I use my time wisely, especially working in the female unit. And I remember they had me in the same female unit for like 4 or 5 months. And other officers, they were like rotating them out. I'm like, dang, am I doing something wrong? Am I doing something right? And I realized I was doing something right because I didn't have any problems in my unit. The girls got, well, most of them got along. But I remember I would write little templates for them to reflect on. I would say, who's your role model? And some even told me that I was the role model. I wrote, what are your motivations in life? What are your weaknesses? What are your strengths? And what are you going to do to not come back to jail? And I remember some of them like kept asking me for more and give them guidance. And I did a little, but I couldn't do so much because that was my position. My position was to maintain order, and put them in their place and everything like that. And it was a little stressful. And I realized I need to do something else. So I decided to enroll in grad school to work my master's. And when I was going to school and being an officer working night shift, it was just, the schedule wasn't working. So I had to quit. And I became an admin assistant. And an admin assistant, people were saying, oh my gosh, I'm so happy for you. You sitting there leaving us at the bottom. But I'm like, I would have rather been an officer than be an admin assistant from what I had to deal with. Especially with my chain of command. The captain at the top was so disrespectful to me. I remember she called me a little girl, and she was a black female, and I was the only other black person on her team. So I figured if anything, she would, respect me. But no, it was total opposite. She disrespected me. And I realized this is not the place I need to be. I need to do something. And at this time, my grandmother was sick. She was dying, really, she was really sick, and I had to call out. And I usually do not call out of work. I had to call out to take care of her, to take her to the hospital, and be there for her sometimes, but I couldn't do it all the time. I think I called out like a total of 5 times, and then we were approaching the trial for my sister. This was my last semester of grad school. We went to trial. I was in trial for about 2 weeks. My grandmother, wait a second. I'm sorry. I quit my job actually the year before my sister trial, but we kept getting different dates and everything. Kept moving. And so I was trying to prepare mentally for the trial. And my grandmother was sick. I was in a toxic relationship. When I say toxic, it was really bad. I wasn't even myself. And I was in school, and it was a lot. It was a lot on me. And I remember I had to go back to counseling. And luckily the jail, they provide counseling for you. And I remember telling her my situation. I said, I'm in this relationship. My grandmother is sick. We're about to go to trial. I'm in school. My work culture is not, it's not really good for me. And I don't know what to do. I felt like everything was crashing down on me. And I remember the guidance counselor, the psychiatrist, she told me that, she asked me, you're telling me everything that makes you unhappy, that makes you depressed. What about what makes you happy? Have you thought about that? What makes Davita happy? And I had to think about it. What makes me happy? Well, my family makes me happy. Being there for my grandmother makes me happy. My job, because as a matter of fact, when I became an admin assistant, I had got like a major cut in pay, and I had to start doing hair. I didn't want I didn't want another part-time job because I was in school and I didn't want the commitment with my grandma being sick. I wanted something flexible, so I started doing hair on the side. And so I realized, me doing hair made me happy because I empowered women. They would come to me telling me their stories. Like, I never was a hairstylist to just do hair in silence. No, I'm going to talk. We're going to talk. I'm going to get to know you. And you're going to get to know me. And it's the stories that I was told. And it gave me a sense of worthiness to be there for women, providing them the beauty services that they wanted, empowering them. That's what my beauty brand, that's what my lifestyle is all about, woman empowerment. And that's what made me happy. I remember I did leave work early so I could do hair. I was making more money doing hair. And so doing hair, being there for my family, that's what made me happy. So she said, you need to just act upon it. Do what you need to do, but act upon it. So I thought about it. I'm going to have to quit my job. And I remember I turned my 2 weeks in, and my lieutenant was like, are you sure you want to do this? Like, you're not going to be able to make enough money doing hair, you need these benefits. You need this job. You need this. The only time you can make money is around prom season. And I know you're going through a lot right now, but I think you need to think this one through. I don't think you're making the right decision. And so I actually had to think about it. I said, okay, let me get my 2 weeks back. Let me think about it. I went on my break. I was praying. And I kept thinking about what the counselor asked me. What makes you happy? Those benefits, yeah, they were good, but that didn't make me happy. If I had to go through what I had to go through to get those benefits and that money, it wasn't meant for me. It meant for somebody else, but not me. So when I got back from my break, I turned my 2 weeks in, and it was the best decision I made in a long time. And it just so happened to be that on the last day that I was supposed to report to work, is the same day that my grandmother passed. And that was another traumatic experience. I quit so I could take care of her. And a lot of people don't realize if you have the time to take care of your family, do that. Be with them. Because that job will be there with or without you. That job will go on with or without you. You may get a write-up, you may get whatever, but at least you'll be with your family. You get to share those precious moments that I didn't get to do because I was working, because I was so caught up in the money and I wasn't happy. So I say that to say this: whatever you're going through, you're not alone. Seek help. I had to seek help, and I had to really dig deep in what made me happy. If you're depressed, you're just taking in everything that makes you depressed and unhappy. Think about what makes you happy. Think about the people who believe in you. Think about your purpose in life. Think about what affected you and how you can move on to empower others, so that way they won't be affected the same way as you did. And you can have a testimony and be an advocate for that. And I remember in church the other day, the pastor was talking about being a victim versus being a visionary, not being bitter, but being better. Victims say, I can't do this. Nothing is possible. Visionaries say, with God, everything is possible. And you just have to have that mindset of a visionary. Visionaries, they see their life in the future. Victims only see their life right now, what's going through right now. You have to be a visionary, and you have to help people. You have to help yourself, so that way you can help people. And God wants you to live a life full of abundance. You cannot live a life full of abundance if you're just stuck in the depression, the PTSD. If you're stuck in that, you cannot receive the blessings that God has for you. He puts you through this so that way you can get out, and that way you can empower others and lift others up. So with that being said, I love you for listening and getting to the end of this video. Whatever it is that you're going through, I'll pray for you at the end of this video. And just be strong. If you need help, hit me up. If you really need some professional help, seek some guidance. You know, Charlamagne the God talks about mental health in the Black community. So if you read his book, or if you just Google, you'll find some resources for you to get some help. But that's all I have for now. Stay blessed.